Hello, this is Ella here at All Writers Welcome Facebook group. Also, allwriterswelcome.com. And I am here to talk to you this afternoon about traditional versus indie versus self-publishing. And I wanted to talk about this because we had a person in the group who was like, how can you self-publish without spending a bunch of money? And I want to just kind of get it out there and talk about what are some of the differences and why you don't have to spend money to self-publish. And I want to just have a little preview here, like a little caveat. I am really pro self-publishing at the moment. So just keep that in mind as I'm going through this, although I'm going to try to be relatively fair. But so let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is traditional publishing. So there's something that I have noticed, and you may have noticed, that it seemed like, when I was a kid, or not that long ago, before ebooks, that there was a lot of different kinds of books. So basically what's happened is that traditional publishers are looking for the blockbuster. They're looking for the one book or the one series of books that's going to make them a ton of money. Like they're looking for a Harry Potter. I think kind of ever since Harry Potter came out, that's kind of what they're looking for. So they're looking for a Harry Potter. They're looking for a Twilight. They're looking for something that everybody's going to go crazy over. They only have to publish and market at one time. And then, they only have to do the work one time and they make tons of money. So they used to publish a bunch of books and then try to make a little bit of money off of all the books. And they've kind of stopped doing that because it costs more money to market more books and they don't make as much. So they aren't doing that anymore. They're looking for blockbusters. So that if you've noticed that it's harder to get published traditionally, that's probably why. But beyond, so that's what's happening. And so a lot of people are going to self-publishing, but we're going to talk about that in a bit. So with a traditional publisher, kind of you can expect an advance, but it's an advance against royalties. So it's not like they're just paying you for the book. They are going to be, you do still have to earn the money. So if they pay you, like $10,000, and then you have to sell so many copies of your book in order to then earn that $10,000 that they've already given you. And the average percentage the average percentage of royalties is somewhere between 7 and 25%, and the average is 10%. So if you get $10,000 advance, you're going to have to sell 100,000 copies of your book to make that up. With traditional publishers, there's a lack of creative control that you have because they have their marketing people and they're going to say, you have to do this and you have to do this for your book. We're going to design your book cover for you. We're going to make your blurb, which those things can be pretty good. But then also with your creativity, they're going to be like, here's the editing, here's how you need to change this. So you have a lack of creative control. Also, when you're doing traditional publishing, you have to be careful when you sign the contract not to give away all of your rights. So there's kind of like, I call it the used car syndrome, which is that when you go to buy a car from a used car salesman, that's all they do. That all they do is sell cars every day, day after day, and they become expert at doing that. And then you come in to buy a car, and how many cars do you buy in your lifetime? Like most of us, less than 10. And you just do it one and you wait so many years and you buy another one. And so you're coming in just not, as like hoping that somebody's going to treat you well and get you what you need and do it for the right price. And the chances are, unless you really know what you're doing, you're going to get taken advantage of. So you have to be wary of that with traditional publishing because they're in it to make money and they're going to take your creative awesomeness and they're going to want to get as much money from you as they can because their profit, they're for profit for themselves. Okay. But on the pro side, if you're doing traditional publishing, you know, they're going to take care of your cover. They're going to take care of your editing. They're going to take care of your blurbs. What they won't take care of anymore is marketing. They actually expect the authors to do their own, you know, have their own website and their own Twitter and social media management. That's all expected that the author can take care of those things. So that's something to keep in mind. Another thing is if you are looking to get like a literary award, or if you're looking to be in a lot of bookstores, or, you know, like if you're looking for the kind of, like feel good, like, hey, here's my book, it's published by Penguin, you know, you can get a lot of validation. That's the word I was looking for, validation with traditional publishing. So those are some of the, you know, how traditional publishing happens and how, you know, and so, and what are the pros and cons and benefits for you. Okay. Now I'm going to look at indie and self-publishing. So there's not like a defined indie and like definition for indie and definition for self. I looked around a little bit, did some extra research, and you know, there's multiple things for it. So self-publishing has traditionally had a kind of stigma to it, like, oh, well, you couldn't get really published, and so you just went to self-publish. And it's had that for a little while, but it's kind of going away, I think. But one thing that people have done, instead of owning this, or, you know, claiming the self-published, they call themselves indie. They're independently published, which typically means doing it yourself. There are also some small publishing companies that call themselves indie publishing. So that's where it's a little bit of a gray area. But for now, I'm not going to talk about the small publishing houses. I'm going to talk about self-publishing, or if you want to call yourself an independent publishing or independent author, you can do that. Okay. So first off, there is not a stigma for self-publishing anymore. I think, yes, there is some, if you can, you know, have a traditionally published book, sure, you're going to have some bragging rights for sure. But it doesn't make a difference with most readers anymore. What readers want and what readers have always wanted is a good story. Like, people want a good story. So however that's available, however they can get that, that's what they want. So they don't care about who or where or what has published the book, as long as it gets in their hands and they can go into your world for a while. And if you're doing nonfiction, they care about good information, and they don't care so long as the information works, it gets them what they need. So people are very, very practical, and they're very practical. If you can get them what they want for cheaper and faster and easier, they'll do that. And that's what self-publishing is. So the benefits for you as an author, there's no advance, but you can make a lot more on the royalties. So remember that the traditional publishing average royalty was 10% off the price of the book. Well, with Amazon, and I'm going to go with Amazon here because it is, you know, like majority of people who buy their ebooks are buying it off of Amazon. They have a 70% royalty if you price the book between $2.99 and $9.99. And that's awesome. you're literally getting more than 2/3 of the price of the book royalty when you're going with Amazon. So you don't have to sell that many copies of the book to make some good money. Also, another pro of self-publishing is you have 100% creative control. You know, so you get to pick out your artwork. You get to edit what you want and keep the things in that you want to keep in and take out the things that you want, but it's all up to you. You also have 100% control over the price. So a lot of people, if they've written multiple books, they will put the first book as 99 cents to get somebody into the series. And then once they get in, the second book, I've seen like the second book for $2.99, the third book for $3.99, the fourth book for $4.99. And by the time you're reading the third and fourth book, you're like into it. You need to know what's happening. So people, me, and lots of people are like, buy now, buy right now. Plus, think of how easy that is. Just that example, right? The being able to just finish the book, and you don't have to drive to the store to go get the second book. You can just click and you get it and you can keep reading. And I live in a very rural area, and the nearest bookstore, there's 2 bookstores and they're both an hour and 15 minutes drive away. That's how close the nearest bookstore is. It was almost a deal breaker for moving here, but because of Amazon and ebooks, I'm okay. Like, I'm not like starving for books. Another thing is that you get to retain all the rights. So when you self-publish, those rights stay yours. You don't have to worry about if somebody else is going to get them or anything like that. You're publishing it yourself and you get to retain those rights. Now, the upfront costs to self-publishing vary. Okay, so it depends on how much you want to do yourself. And depending on your skill set, you may want to pay somebody to make your book cover, or you may not. If you are thinking just quickly, if you're thinking about having somebody do your book cover, or if you're thinking about doing it yourself, I have made a book cover checklist. It's you can find that book cover checklist at allwriterswelcome.com/top 5. And in that one, that top 5 is where I've said the top 5 mistakes that people make with their book covers. If you want the checklist, you can go to allwriterswelcome.com/checklist. So if you're thinking about doing that yourself, but if you're not, you can always hire somebody. And again, that's where you can pay how much you want to pay. So it can cost, a couple $100s to make a professional book cover, or you can go and there's pre-made book covers that you can find. You can usually find those for around like $50, and they can be really good. So there are some upfront costs. You'll have to, if you want to find an editor, you'll have to pay an editor, to read your book and give you some feedback and help you edit it. So, but that's up to you. You can find somebody and pay them, or if you know somebody, or, so that's where the range of upfront costs is within your power and control, depending on how much money you want to put into the book. I was just interviewing a guy though, and I'll tell you about, and so I'll put that up later, but you might check out allwriterswelcome.com and look for the interview with Rick Partlow. And he put his books up. He had 2 books up, and he's like, I didn't do any formatting. I didn't do any, he's like, I didn't do anything. I just put them up there. I had 2 books. I put them up there and people really liked them. He said he sold within the first year. He had those 2 books out and he sold over 30,000 copies. So if you think about that, that's like a lot of books, and he didn't do formatting. And he said he just like found like a Creative Commons photo and then like, put the title on. So it doesn't, like I was saying earlier, people care about the story. It's the story that people care about. You can have all the formatting and all the beautiful artwork that you want, but if the story isn't something that appeals to people, it's not going to be successful. Where vice versa, if you have a great story, it doesn't almost matter how much, how the artwork and everything is, because people want the story. Now, if you have a few typos, people don't care. But along those lines, once you start selling the book and you have some money, you can very easily hire somebody to format your book and just re-upload it. It's really easy. It's literally a click of the button to upload a new copy of your book to Amazon. So that's really, really awesome. That's another thing, a pro about self-publishing. So I was looking at some reports, and I'm going to put the link to them here. This is a really great resource because people are like, well, how much money can you make? Or how many people will buy your book? Because what do you want? What is your end goal? So that's probably the question that you need to ask when you're talking about traditional publishing or self-publishing or independent publishing. What is your end goal? Do you want to be like, I got a Newbery Award? If that is your dream, go for it. Traditional publish, man. Like, that's the thing to do at this point. Now, there might be some changes sometime in the future where independent authors will be considered for those awards, but for now, go independent. Or if you want to be like a household name, if you want to be like a Nora Roberts or a Lee Child or, a Stephen King, if you want to be a household name, you're going to have to go do traditional publishing, and that's fine. So, go for it. High five, man. But so that's what you'll need to ask yourself is what is my intention? Now, if your intention is to get your book into a lot of people's hands and to be able to make money and support yourself as a writer, as an author, then you might consider self-publishing, because there is a freaking lot of money being made in self-publishing. And in another video, I'm going to go and just go over some of the amounts that you can make. I have a software that goes onto Amazon by category, and it's like, last month people made this much, and people are making hundreds of thousands of dollars each month just selling their self-published books on Amazon. Now, even if you're not making hundreds of thousands, people are making thousands of dollars each month, and that could be enough. That could be enough for you. So it's something to think about. You do have to market well. You do have to manage some things, but you have to do that with traditional publishing as well anymore. You have to self-market you have to self-market. It's do it yourself marketing either way. So that's something to consider. Now, if you have any questions about self-publishing or independent publishing or traditional publishing, I'm not going to have as many answers for, because that's not like my expertise, but self-publishing for sure. Go ahead and put them in the comments and I'll get back to you, or just leave them on the Facebook page, or send, get a note to me, right? And we're at allwriterswelcome.com or the All Writers Welcome Facebook group. Writers Welcome Facebook group. Ta-da! Yeah, that's where we're at. And part of what we're doing in this group is helping people to self-publish their book and market it so that they can be successful, because I am dying for new authors, and probably your books are one of the ones, probably I would love to read your books. And there are people that are dying for new authors. They're like, well, I need more books. I'm out of my favorite authors, And so we want people to be able to find your books, and we want you to be able to make a living with your books. We want people to be reading and loving your creative work, and we don't want anything stopping you from getting your story into people's hands, and then so that they can then sit there and create, live in your world that you have created for a while. So thank you so much for being here, and I hope this was helpful, and I will see you later. Bye.